Please rise as you are able, and I now call this meeting of City Council to order.
The City of Barrie acknowledges the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people, which include the Adawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We also acknowledge the Wendat Nation, who occupied these lands prior to the middle of the 17th century. We're dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and recognize the enduring presence of Indigenous peoples on this land. We're committed to moving forward in a spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. You may be seated. Well, welcome to Barrie City Council for April the 29th. Thank you for joining us this evening. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to identify before we move on with our student mayors. And the first is this, is that there's a new face around the table. That's Ashley Harrison, who is our new Deputy City Clerk. She joins us in the Legislative and Court Services Department from the Chief Administrative Officer's office, where she has held the position as Strategic Project Coordinator and Executive Assistant to the Chief Administrative Officer. I want to welcome you to City Council, Ashley, on behalf of Council. And thank you for taking the position and for joining us. I know you'll be an awesome addition to the team there, and I know Wendy is incredibly excited as well, right, Wendy? That's right. Okay, the second thing I'd like to do before we get into the meeting is to acknowledge somebody who has been a staple around this table for a while, and that's Ingrid Peters. Now, Ingrid, you joined us a number of years ago in the Legal Services Department as our director, and you're now moving towards retirement. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for all of your steadfast legal advice, your ability to see through issues, to bring all of the experience you have to the table, and to keep council on track. And I say council, not just this council, there's been other councils you've kept on track that I've been part of as well. And so on behalf of the people of Barrie, on behalf of City Council, I want to say thank you so much for everything that you've given to the City of Barrie, because you've done it with all your heart and all of your mind, and we really do appreciate that, and thank you for all of that today. So please, everyone, give a... Now, Ingrid, I'm going to ask you to meet our CAO and myself up at the podium behind, because we have a little gift for you. And it's also your opportunity to say all the things that you never could say because you had to show up at work the next day. You'll be missed.
So I have never been at this podium by design. In any event, I just wanted to convey my heartfelt thanks to everyone here. You have thanked me, but I have a lot to thank the city for. It has been a fabulous 17 years, and I have enjoyed very much working for the city. This is a city with a lot of heart and a lot of passion and a lot of ambition. And I'm saying, go for it, and I will be watching. So, thank you.
Mr. CEO, there's that big breath you take after Ingrid's, probably last words of council, and you think to yourself, who's going to keep us out of jail now, Okay, so we're going to move on into another couple of presentations, and it has been our pleasure over the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, to work with our student mayors. And we've had Olivia Francis from Warnica Public School and Jada Simpson from Innisdale Secondary School. And so we're going to ask them each to give comments about their time here. And I'm going to start with Jada Simpson to come up on behalf of Innisdale, and you'll assume the chair.
Good evening, Council and members of the community. I want to start by extending my deepest gratitude to Mayor Nuttall and Deputy Mayor Thompson for helping in my understanding of Council proceedings. And I'd also like to thank all the members of Council for the welcoming environment they've created here for us student mayors. When the opening to become a student mayor presented itself, I jumped at the opportunity to apply. For a while now, I've had an interest in learning more about the local government, the concerns of Barrie residents, and how the city operates. In my time as student mayor, I've been fortunate enough to see behind the scenes by taking a tour of Fire Station 1, located in downtown Barrie. Firefighters Ali and Chris gave me an in-depth tour, and the other firefighters happily joined in to share their own knowledge and experiences. I appreciate Chief White for taking the time to personally welcome me to his station, even though I'm certain he has a very busy schedule. His staff spoke highly of the work culture he has created there. For my second facility visit, I visited the 5 Points Theater. Growing up, I was drawn to the arts, from dance lessons to theater camps, so seeing behind the scenes was of great interest to me. I was greeted by James, the venue's technical coordinator, who was very passionate about his work and was happy to share with me different opportunities within the theater and performance industry. As a student in their final year of high school, I've had to think a lot about my next steps and have decided that I want to serve the public. Yesterday, I got the chance to tour the Barrie Police Headquarters and was guided by Special Constable Drury and Community Safety and Well-Being Officer Parkin. They provided an in-depth tour, taking extra time at the places I was most interested in and answered all my questions, and there was a lot. Sitting in these last few council meetings has been eye-opening, as I got to learn about committees that I wasn't previously aware of, such as Heritage Barrie Committee and the Affordability Committee. As a current member of my school's student council, it's been amazing to get a glimpse of what it might be in store for if I progress into serving municipal councils. The work that you do here by serving our community does not go unnoticed, and I am truly appreciative of this unique learning experience. Thank you.
Now, Jada, on behalf of the people of Barrie, and certainly on behalf of Barrie City Council and all of our staff, I want to say thank you for your service as student mayor to the city of Barrie, and very proud of you. That was a very, very, very eloquent speech. And we really do appreciate the time that you've had. And it's really inspiring to hear that you've been inspired by the time here, and it's calling you to public service. So on behalf of council, congratulations and thank you so much. And I'm now going to turn it over to Olivia Francis, representing Warnica Public School. The floor is yours.
My term as student mayor has been truly eye-opening. Although it was only 3 weeks, the depth of what I have learned is much more than I expected. From the privilege of honoring our 911 operators, to exploring the stories of our heritage buildings, to hearing the poet laureate speak so passionately about her term, every moment has done nothing but deepen my respect for the people who keep the heart of our city beating. This experience has been a master class in leadership I will never forget. These 3 weeks have shown me that while my time in the official seat is ending, my devotion to this community is just beginning. I want to extend a sincere thank you to Mayor Nuttall and the members of council for their mentorship, and my school for trusting me with this position. It has been an honor to serve you.
Thank you so much, Olivia, on behalf of Warnica Public School. And we want to say congratulations again, and thank you so much for all of your service as student mayor here in the City of Barrie, and we wish you nothing but luck in the future as well. Now, this is one of those evenings where we have our student mayors transition out of their position and new student mayors transitioning into positions. So I want to thank again Jada and Olivia for your time here. You're welcome to stay, but if you don't want to, that's okay too. There's lots on the agenda tonight, but I know you have schooling responsibilities as well. So thank you again, and I'm going to ask that Ashley welcome our two new student mayors for their swearing-ins down at the podium. Oh, Wendy's going to...
Her bylaw's not passed yet. So.
Her bylaw's not passed yet. Okay. Will it be tonight?
I, Jacob Yuan Libanan, have been elected to the office of Student Mayor for the period of April 29, 2026 to May 13, 2026. Do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. That I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any other improper manner. That I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration consciously believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
I, Stella Jenkins, have been elected to the office of Student Mayor for the period of April 29th, 2026 to May 13th, 2026. Do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. That I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. That I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true, and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Welcome, student mayors, and congratulations on your swearing into office here at the City of Barrie. We'll do an introduction of members of council, but one thing, I say this every time, I think the only people to get the words pecuniary and conscientiously correct when they're getting sworn in are the student mayors. The rest of us messed up both of those words, and I see Arif smiling because he messed it up too when he was sworn in the past. So it's funny to see and it's nice to see. So what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to welcome Stella and Jacob as well. And we're going to start by introducing members of council. Do we have Councillor Rietma? So we're going to start with the Ward 1 councillor.
Well, congratulations to you. Welcome to City Council. My name is Claire Rietman. I have a sore back tonight, so I'm not at council, but welcome, and I'm the councillor for Ward 1.
Welcome, Stella and Jacob. I'm Craig Nixon. I'm the councillor in Ward 2, even though I'm sitting in Councillor Rietma's chair, only because I have a bad cold and I'm trying to keep my distance here. But yeah, welcome very much. Welcome, and all the best.
Congratulations. It's lovely to have you in chambers. I'm Anne Marie Kungle, the Ward 3 councillor.
Congratulations, your worships. I'm Amy Corser. I'm the Ward 4 councillor for the city.
Welcome to the chambers and congratulations. I'm the Ward 5 councillor and also fortunate enough to serve as the deputy mayor of Barrie.
Welcome to the City Council. My name is Nguse, Ward 6 councillor.
Congratulations and welcome. I'm Gary Harvey, the Ward 7 councillor.
Welcome to Barrie City Council, your worships. Sergio Morales, Ward 9 councillor and student mayor, fall 2009.
Congratulations, I'm Councillor Hamilton, Ward 10 councillor.
And welcome to council. My name is Alex Nuttall. I serve as mayor here, and just a couple of quick personal things to take care of. St. Peter's, right? Good school. Perfect. St. Monica's. There's 2 kids. You can tell me if they're being bad, okay? Caleb and Annabella, you let us know what's up. Okay. Welcome to council. So what's going to happen is you can have Councillor Neguse and Deputy Mayor Thompson will be able to help you with any of the papers if you have any questions throughout the evenings that you're going to be sitting student mayor. And I do want to highlight for the student mayors, there will be some pretty meaty subject matter later on. And it'll take some time. If the parents feel that it's better to leave beforehand, that's okay as well. But there will be some pretty meaty subject matter. So we're going to move on to the confirmation of minutes. The minutes are for the meeting of April the 15th, 2026. They've been circulated. Are there any corrections? I'm seeing none, so they are adopted as printed and circulated. There's no awards and recognition, no reports from officers. We're moving on to deputations on committee reports. We have an emergency deputation request from Greg Van Bolderen concerning city-initiated official plan amendment, bringing boundary expansions lands into the official plan. For deputation requests received after the printing of the agenda, a vote in favor by the majority of the council is required in order to allow that emergency deputation to proceed. For this one, we're going to call a vote. All those in favor of allowing the emergency deputation. It's approved unanimously. And so in accordance with the city's procedural bylaw, each deputation will be given 5 minutes. That means that Mr. Van Bolderen has 5 minutes. Is he with us this evening? Yes. Come on down, sir. There's a podium and the microphone will be ready for you. And after you start speaking, the 5-minute timer will go. And if you're coming near the end,
Slow down a little bit before the time.
no problem.
Sorry.
If you're getting near the end, it'll ding and let you know, just as a heads
Don't
up.
worry. I have
Okay.
a feeling I'm going to be reading and it's going to be too fast, but I'll try to slow it
That's
down.
okay. All
I
good.
appreciate you guys giving me the time to speak. Am I good to go? All right. Hello, my name is Greg Van Bolderen. I am living at 664 Penetanguishene Road with my wife Genevieve and our 4 children, Moose, Fred, Elise, and Tunican. Our home is proposed to be turning into industrial zoning. I think everyone can appreciate our position that not liking this and not wanting to be surrounded by industrial development. I have tried to voice my displeasure with this entire annexation business last summer, and it was a huge shift in the county and for the city of Barrie, something that I believe should have been part of an election campaign. These imaginary lines do mean a great deal, and the color of the zoning on the map do also mean a great deal. It's very possible that we ended up at the same result, but at least due process would have been allowed. As a Springwater resident, we did not knowingly vote for someone that would be so easily willing to give us up. But what's done is done, and our taxes have increased gradually, mind you, and thank you. But still with no significant benefit to us, and quite possibly the opposite should this official plan amendment be approved today. I'm left with a simple thought that everything has been rushed. This official plan amendment lays the groundwork for the next 25 years. Any decision made afterwards, after this approval, will be made to follow its direction. Through some brief correspondence with the town, who have been very helpful, thank you and thank you, I'm left with the impression that not everything is fully in place to understand how this official plan will be put into practice. So why are we rushing it? It's been less than 12 months since any of this was public, and less than 5 months since the land was officially Barrie's. Some quick hitters were how will Public Works service these properties? Has the Nottawasaga Valley and Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority been part of any of these conversations? How does it affect cross-town traffic? Site plan control, I believe, is under review. How will that and those reviews, most importantly, protect our home and others from these new developments? And what does that truly look like? I can appreciate that this is an evolving discussion, but it seems like we're putting together a platypus and trying to make sense of it afterwards. From a resident standpoint, this will also give us a chance to hear from our councillors and how they view these lands, to give us the opportunity to vote for someone that is willing to speak up for us at these meetings and on our behalf. Our current councillor, for Ward 1, Councillor Rietma, has offered some insight on how to voice my opinions, but I do not know if he is for or against any of this. And more so, after November, I'm no longer directly his problem, where I shift to Ward 3 with Councillor Kungle, who again, she seems very nice, but I have no idea if she's for or against any of this. So I do not know her opinion, sorry. Heck, neither of them might not have an opinion. It's only been 5 months. The investment we made in our home 11 years ago, with only 1 child at the time and a second born 10 days before we moved in, it was a no-brainer. A great place to raise a family. It was quiet, with tractors to entertain the kids, and we could see the changing of the seasons, and even on the outskirts we could see real wildlife, not just raccoons. Instead, we will be bringing grandchildren home, we hope to be bringing grandchildren home, to something that will most likely look something more along the lines of Wellham and Saunders Road, which doesn't sound too great. I feel like we're being set up to be a real-life Mr. Fredrickson from the movie Up. I'm not looking to convince anybody that anything needs to be changed drastically today, but I think more time is needed for these conversations before things are changed forever. Let this be a talking point for Ward 1's, Wards 3, and all of Barrie as it will affect all parties. Thank you for your time today. You guys still have the gift of time to just have a discussion about this. So again, on behalf of Genevieve, Audie, Fred, Elise, and Sebastien, thank you. I will take more questions if you wanted to ask them. I've tried to keep it brief and, how much time do I got? I'll ramble on for a bit, sorry. I've tried to keep it brief because I don't want to get lost in too many specifics There are a lot of specifics that, from my understanding, will be sorted out later. And that's the part that scares me, is if we have some time for this, can we sort out some of this beforehand, before it becomes signed into whatever the right term is for the official plan amendment? And then we're trying to chase this and prove this right for the next 25 years.
Thank you, Mr. Yeah, and I thank you, Mr. Van Bolderen, for your words today. And I don't say this in any way, but a very positive one. Welcome to the city of Barrie.
I am born and raised here.
Perfect. Well then, welcome back. It's certainly, you know, it's a very, very difficult thing when your house and your home and the environment around it are being changed. And I don't think anybody anticipates it to be anything other than the difficulty you're describing here this evening. So thank you for coming out, taking the time, and certainly working with our staff on that as well. And we are definitely sensitive to the change and the impact that it can have on you. Were there any questions from members? Yep, Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall, and thank you for the deputy. And maybe it's just through the mayor to staff at first. Understanding there are some unknowns and nervousness from residents, can we maybe just explain to the rest of the public of the actual process, like the OP being almost like at 30,000 feet, and then there's zoning and everything else that goes with it. But just to other Miss Banfield or Miss Oakley, whoever, you know, the stages that still have to occur for residents watching, please.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to the Deputy Mayor. So, as you said, this is the official plan amendment that's before Council to really establish some overarching land use permissions. That really is the first step. The zoning on all of these properties is not changed by this official plan. Now, certainly, as the speaker said, yes, ultimately, over time, the intention is going to be for the zoning bylaws to also change, so that would change the permissions on the property. We do expect that these properties are going to be subject to site plan approval, so there would be some additional planning approvals at that time as well. The zoning bylaw amendment, though, is always going to trigger another public process. And so in the case of any property, an application that comes in around them, there will be a public meeting. At that point, we will have more information, and we will be able to better mitigate the interface between these proposed land uses, because that would be when we would look at proper setbacks, some vegetation, fencing, all those sorts of things, berms, like there's all sorts of different things that can be taken into account. And we would do that when we had more information. And as an adjacent property owner, any resident or property owner would be able to be involved in that.
If I may, Mayor Nuttall. So Mr. Van Bolden, and I know this probably doesn't help you or comfort you, but so our mayor did run on this. This was an election issue for him. He talked about the invisible borders and creating jobs and all that stuff, and understanding that you were in a different municipality at last election. So maybe it wasn't, you know, on their election. Yeah. Yeah, but and just to be fair, like, and that's why, and just for the record, like, it was something that was, and we mentioned this at Springwater Council when we presented this offer. This is something we, you know, as well, Mayor Nuttall ran on and, you know, was very open about the invisible borders and creating jobs and needing the land for that. So just a little bit of a clarity, like we actually did, and I was able to look at your article today and some of your concerns, but it was something on this side of the border that was very discussed openly. So
I can respect that. I can respect that. And at the same time, like I said in here, I think I said it, what's done is done. There's no going back on that. Everything just seems to be happening very quickly through, like I said, I believe that it's public outside of Barrie walls. It's been more or less 12 months. Since it's kind of brought up to Springwater. I might be a little bit wrong on that, but more or less 12 months since it was brought up at council there. And it all happened very quickly. So that's just, time seems to be I just not quite understanding why it's rushed. And if, again, I don't want to get into specifics, and Ms. Banfield mentioned the possible green space buffers and everything. That sounds great. That's what scares me, is that sounds great. What's actually going to get put into practice? And this is obviously how it affects myself and our family. I'm sure there's others that maybe aren't speaking up or don't know how to speak up, that are probably feeling the same thing. Industrial versus residential versus commercial are all different feels. So again, right now, I'm not saying you have to change anything. It might end up being the exact same, but if we were able to have a little bit more understanding as to how we could be protected, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we were told that it was a 3 to 15 meter setback. So that doesn't sound like a whole lot from a potential Amazon facility where I'm getting a tan off the reflection from the white walls. So I might be going down a very dark place with what could happen, and I understand that, but I also think that that's also not too far off of what's very possible.
Yeah, thank you. And we're just going to remind that if there's questions, direct the questions, and then if the questions are asked, only answer if it's directed at you, okay? So just, I'm trying to be as welcoming as possible. I just still got to follow the rules. Are there any other questions from members of council? I'm going to ask just a couple through it, our chief administrative officer, if that's okay. The first meeting that we held with Springwater and Oromodante, I believe, was sometime in 2023. Is that correct on your recollection?
That is my recollection, Mayor Nuttall.
And the first time we went public with it was, I think, November of 2023 to the whatever committee came to Barrie on behalf of the province of Ontario. Is that
Provincial Standing Committee, yes, Mayor Nuttall.
okay? And when the final, while this isn't true with Oromodante, it is true with Springwater. When we had a final commitment, and if we need to go to Ms. Oakley, I'm totally good with that, Ms. Oakley. I believe in the agreement that we identified what lands were meant for what. Is that correct or incorrect? Am I making that up?
That's correct, Mayor Nuttall. We identified community versus employment land.
And was that written into the, like, and I'm now, it's amazing that it's only 3 months ago and I can't remember. So does that mean that the agreement with Springwater identified, like, was it built into the agreement, the mapping itself, or was it outside of the agreement with Springwater?
Yes, Mayor Nuttall, there was a map indicating employment and community land, and that was an appendix to the agreement.
Okay. Okay. The reason I ask those questions, sir, is that the agreement that now exists between the City of Barrie and Springwater Township is that the City of Barrie would institute the agreed upon mapping and the uses inside of those areas that were identified. And I believe, and I probably should have asked this, is the secondary plan matching those, the amendment here, the OPA amendment, is it matching what was in the spirit of that said mapping? Is that correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay. So we have now, like, as a corporation, as a city, we've agreed with Springwater in advance that we would follow the consultants' reports that identified, and these are third-party consultants that were retained by all of the municipalities, including the County of Simcoe, to identify what should be used as and I forget the new name, community use, what should be used as industrial, what should be used for natural heritage, and EP. And so we've actually signed an agreement with Springwater Township that the overall plans look the way that they are proposed tonight. So although we're officially making this the City of Barrie policy in a planning state tonight, we have already made it the City of Barrie policy with regards to our agreement to follow through with Springwater Township when we legally brought the land into or well, I guess the province brought the land into the city of Barrie. So I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but I do want to be like really, I don't want you to leave here with ambiguity and questions or chasing something that's not correct. I want you to leave here with all the facts. Having said all that, there's a zoning portion that needs to be gone through. And we have staff that want to work with you. We try to work with absolutely everybody. And I also want to confirm what you said, okay? Which is that there is a possibility that there's an Amazon building beside your property. That for you is the worst case scenario. You've used that as an example, right? And I think that is a possibility at some point down the road, okay? The other piece is we don't even know what it costs at this point, really. We have a guesstimate, and I mean, they'll say it's an estimate, but by the time we actually get to it, it's a guesstimate on how much it's going to cost to get like services and infrastructure out there. So we have a lot of work to do before we even contemplate looking at what a development would be or wouldn't be at this location or any of these locations. So I really do thank you for coming in. If there's anything we can do in any of our offices to support you, whether it's your counselor or the deputy mayor or myself, please let us know. And I know our staff will be there to help. And I know that's not what you came to get the answer of, but I do want to be shooting straight with you.
I appreciate it. It was a Hail Mary of sorts. I didn't quite realize that the clock had already expired. I'll go back to my grievances on the other side of the fence then. But nonetheless, I appreciate your time. Please keep in mind as you're going through your zoning stuff, what other people had purchased those properties for and how we can maintain the integrity of that and enforce that. I guess that's what I'll be bleeding for and coming back for. But I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're into tax applications. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Kungle, that the list applications to council for cancellation reduction additions to tax dated April 29, 2026, submitted by the treasurer in the amount of $10,809.51 be approved.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Kungle. The tax application, the list of applications to council for cancellation, reduction, or addition to taxes dated April 29, 2026, submitted by the treasurer in the amount of $10,809.51 be approved. Any questions or comments from members of council? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? It carries. Okay, there are no communications, so I believe, Deputy Mayor, you've got the motions for our committee reports.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Kungle, the following matters listed in General Committee Report dated April 2022, 2026 be received.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Kungle, that the following matter listed on the General Committee Report dated April 22nd, 2026 be received. This is the report of the Executive Committee dated April 1st, 2026, and the report of the Affordability Committee dated April 15th, 2026. Are there any questions or comments with regards to the motions on the floor? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Kungle, the following matters listed on General Committee Report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Kungle, that the following matter listed on the General Committee Report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted. These are the parking restrictions Rawson to corner of Lockhart Road, no parking Loon Avenue near Huronia Road, parking in front of Canada Post super mailboxes, Wellington Street, Nolan Street Study, no stopping Dunlop Street East, zoning bylaw amendment 324 and 328 Ardagh Road, Ward 6, property acquisition sidewalk infill program, downtown Barrie business improvement area levy, and the 2026 tax rates. Any questions or comments from members of council? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? It's approved.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Kungle, the following matters listed in the General Committee Report April 22nd, 2026 be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Kungl, that the following matter listed on the General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted. This is the graffiti wall Queen's Park Skate Park. Any questions or comments from members of council? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Kungl, the following matters listed on the General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Kungl, that the following matter listed on the General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted. This is the council compensation review and revisions to the reimbursement of council expenses policy. Any questions or comments from members of council? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor. Nope. Sorry, Councillor Kungl.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Nuttall. I have it moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Harvey, that the following matter listed on the General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted. That's a sign bylaw exemption request, Park Place ground sign.
It's moved by Councillor Kungl and seconded by Councillor Harvey that the following matter listed on the General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted. Signed by law exemption request, Park Place ground sign. Madam Clerk, I'd like to declare a conflict of interest in the matter as my spouse is a owner of a sign company. And could you confirm that you've noted the conflict?
Yes, Mayor Nuttall, I have.
I will remain in the chambers, but I will cede this seat.
Moved by Councillor Kungl and seconded by Councillor Harvey, the following matter listed at General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted. Signed bylaw exemption request, Park Place ground sign. Any questions? Call the vote. It passes. Councillor Kungl.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through, I have it moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Gary Harvey, that the following matter listed on the General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted. This is a sign variance application for 555 Essa Road.
Mayor Nuttall.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy Mayor. Madam Clerk, could you note that I have a conflict of interest on this matter as my spouse is a owner of a company that does signs?
Yes, Mayor Nuttall, your conflict's been noted.
Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Kungl, second by Councillor Harvey, the following matter listed at General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted. Signed variance application 555 Essa Road. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I call the vote. And it carries.
Okay. We're going to move on to the next item. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Kungl, the following matter listed at General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Kungl, that the following matter listed on the General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026 be adopted. This is a city-initiated official plan amendment, bringing boundary expansion lands into the official plan. Any questions or comments from members of council?
I have an amendment.
Yes.
Mayor Nuttall. Thank you. And at the city-initiated official plan, bringing boundary expansion lands into the official plan matter listed on General Committee report dated April 22nd, 2026, be amended by adding the following wording to the end of paragraph 1. As amended by requiring that all city-owned lands abutting to Little Lake be designated natural heritage system or green space, and adding the following wording to paragraph 2, as amended by changing the commercial district design on the parcels of 295 and 299 Penetanguishene Road and 2709 at 5th 6th Side Road be reduced into an area with 140 meters of frontage on Side Road 5 and 6 and 415 meters of frontage along Penetanguishene Road, with the remainder of the property being neighborhood area and natural heritage systems. And I can speak to that.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson with regards to the initiated official plan amendment bringing boundary expansion lands into the official plan. Matter list on the General Committee report dated April 22nd, 26 be amended by adding the following wording to the end of paragraph 1. 1 is amended by requiring that all city-owned lands abutting Little Lake be designated natural heritage system or green space, and adding the following wording to paragraph 2 as amended by changing the commercial district designation on the parcels at 295 and 299 Penetanguishene Road and 2709 5 and 5th and 6th Side Road by reducing it to an area with 140 meters of frontage on Side Road 5 and 6 and 450 meters of frontage along Penetanguishene Road, with the remainder of the properties being neighborhood area and natural heritage system. Deputy Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So on the first amendment, you know, one of the things that was talked about when we were looking at the boundary adjustment and stuff was, you know, looking at preserving and, you know, utilizing Little Lake for environmental reasons. And, you know, I know it was talked about in, I know there's more to come, but on a conservation trust. So this just actually, you know, starts that process of, you know, making sure that all the lands around Little Lake are protected with the environmentally sensitive. The next one was just something that staff had been working with the landowners and requested. So it was originally one way, and then it went to, I believe it was 12 hectares, which is approximately 28 acres. Is that give or take? So it was a very, very large commercial area. Now, there are lots of usage in this zoning, but just with the staff, and they've done a great job, and, you know, all the consultation and working back and forth with the landowners, you know, to find a happy medium. And this is what they had come up with. So I would like to think both parties aren't happy, and that would be a great negotiation. So that's kind of where it's at. They wanted some other things, and staff pushed back on, but this was a compromise on both. So this is a staff and property owner initiative.
Any questions or comments for Councillor Congo?
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Just a comment. So I'm supportive of the amendment, and I thank you for bringing it forward. I know there's questions around Little Lake, and we've been explaining and clarifying that when we're talking about what's within the conservation intention and natural green space, that of course we were talking about city-owned properties. And so for those that are abutting, at least this time, there's some clarity around that. So we've been having conversations about different properties and with planning departments. So however it goes forward, but I think this is a good point of clarification to have within the motion.
Thank you. Councillor, any other questions or comments from members of council? I'm seeing none, and just wanted to say thank you, Deputy Mayor, for making sure we brought the natural heritage things forward and ensuring that that's something we keep bringing forth as a central piece going forward. And the beautiful thing about the Little Lake portion coming into the City of Barrie is it's kind of spurred us on across the city, right? Whether it was in the downtown or over in the southwest, the southeast, we've had lots of opportunities, Sunnydale, lots of opportunities to talk about how we can do maybe a better job on conservation going forward. So thank you for that. Are there any other questions or concerns? I think I already asked that. Just want to make sure there's none. So I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor of the amendment? It's approved on the main motion as amended. Any questions or concerns from members of council? I'm seeing none. Then I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And it's approved as amended.
I actually just moved this one. This is the exact same.
feel like you can. All right, we're into direct motions, and thank you for giving me a moment just to get situated there. In accordance with Section 284.1 of the Municipal Act, I, Mayor Nuttall, introduce the following motion to Council. 1, that correspondence be sent to the Barrie Police Services Board advising of the City of Barrie's support of zero tolerance enforcement of drug laws within the City of Barrie for individuals using drugs, with a request for a response to how the City of Barrie can support this measure. 2, the correspondence be sent on behalf of the City of Barrie to the federal government requesting that A, it expand the use of diversion programs for non-violent and non-trafficking addictions charges, including mandatory rehabilitation. B, strengthen sentences for those who have been charged and refused care. C, support prosecution efforts targeting all drug-related crimes for dealing, using, and abusing drugs in our community. D, support courts in providing effective sentencing for drug users into rehabilitation programs. E, seek sentencing outcomes that impose strong penalties for all drug dealers. F, support the removal of all mushroom shops in Barrie, which are illegal. And G, support the creation of rehabilitation centers in federal correctional institutions. 3, that correspondence be sent on behalf of the City of Barrie to the provincial government requesting that it A, amend the Mental Health Act to allow mandatory rehabilitation or compassionate intervention as it's known. B, invest in mental health and rehabilitation institutions to facilitate the changes to the Mental Health Act. C, strengthen provincial enforcement and coordination to close unlicensed marijuana dispensaries, as well as capping the number of stores permitted with a per capita ratio. D, the provincial government create rehabilitation centers in prisons. E, appeal to the province of Ontario to allow for minimum distance separations between pharmacies and methadone clinics or operations, and operations be transferred to health authorities. 4, that correspondence be sent on behalf of the City of Barrie to the County of Simcoe requesting immediate transfer of specialized outreach funding and responsibility from the County of Simcoe to the City of Barrie. 5, that in order to address illegal retail storefronts and prevent similar establishments in the future, staff be directed to prepare and provide notice as required under the Planning Act of the city's intention to amend the zoning bylaw to disqualify illegal uses where retail is permitted, and that notice be provided to affected property owners and occupants in accordance with the Planning Act, with a public meeting and presentation of the proposed amending bylaw to City Council immediately following the 21-day notice period. And that the fee structure related to zoning bylaw infractions be updated to ensure penalties are sufficient to encourage compliance and cost recovery. 6, that as a result of the continued success of the encampment response established under the emergency order, that effective immediately, the following 5 positions be added to the city's permanent full-time complement. A, Program Manager, Social Services Oversight and Strategy. B, Encampment Response Team Lead. C, Encampment Response Officers ×3. I circulated comments earlier, and I'm going to wait to hold. I'm going to hold mine back to the end because at council, as we all know, we can't speak more than once. So what I'm going to do is actually open the floor to comments right away from members of council, and once each person who's spoken, who would like to speak, has spoken, I will then chime in with my own. So. Would anyone like to lead it off here? Councillor Nixon?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I think it's maybe a bit of an understatement to say these are extremely bold initiatives, but that is nothing new for this council. There have obviously been many things done in the past that have been within our powers, and some of these initiatives will remain in our powers, and we can make those changes. But as mentioned, in order for the entire body of initiatives to succeed, we're going to need a lot of support from both provincial and federal governments. That's not always easy, but I just want to say that that if there's anyone that can get that support, you and the other big city mayors who I'm sure are on board that would love to see something like this happen in their cities as well. And I'm confident that if anybody can get it done, you can. So that's all I had to say, and thank you for bringing it forward.
Sorry. Questions or comments, Councillor Kunkel?
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I won't speak at length, but I think it's important for me to speak because I won't be voting in favor. I did have the opportunity to have a great conversation with you, and context behind this, I think for me is always better because it's a complex situation. This is a multi-pronged aspect that you're presenting. I'm aware of where you and the City of Barrie has been sought out to understand things that have worked well here. So when I'm voting against this, it's not like a blanket approach to say I don't believe in any aspect of this, but there are things within it that I just, at this point in time, it'll be interesting to see if this is supported and where it goes and where this whole conversation goes, knowing that in Ontario, we do have a mental health and addiction system that's really trying to build centers of excellence. There's a lot of groundwork, but we don't yet have a system, right, that is, supporting individuals in all steps of the way, especially on some of the upstream being identification that's early in substance use support and treatment tied to some of our best practice guidelines. So all that to say is I do and I will continue to struggle with, I think when we talk about mandatory rehab, I understand the context of how this is being presented forward. I always think it's wonderful about creating intersections within the system wherever somebody's at to be able to access and get help. I'm not opposed to addressing concerns with what we're seeing with some of the storefront issues, and knowing that that has been difficult for policing around concerns with some of the shops and access to some of the movement of drugs. But all in all, I still look at this, for me, through more of a lens around addiction being a disease, and however we look at effective and ethical treatment, building on that stronger system. And we've seen wonderful gains around the Heart Hub, which is just, I think, getting a great foothold, getting a lot of attention, and bringing in other resources in the city. So it's not one solution, but there are aspects of this that, because of how it is embedded, I am not supporting the motion as a whole.
Thank you, Councillor. I have Councillor Harvey, then Councillor Hamilton, then Councillor Morales.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall, and thank you for bringing this forward. Obviously, not everybody's going to agree with it, but I think some of the other announcements that you've done that are very much aligned with this particular motion has definitely seen the vast majority of our residents supportive of the direction that we are going. And the reason I say that too is when you compare this council to the last council, we're in a very different picture, and we're also voting on things in a very different direction. And we actually saw the problem become worse opposed to better. And you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Whereas as soon as you made your first announcement with respect to the encampments, not overnight, but slowly but surely, we saw a positive outcome moving forward throughout the city. Predominantly, it's the downtown core that seems to be impacted at a much greater level than anywhere else. But this is just one other step. And when you consider even the county whose responsibility it is to deal with these social services, we have become much more aligned and in the same direction, working hand in hand, opposed to what it was in previous years and last term. And when you look at not only the Heart Hub that Councillor Kunkel mentioned, we've also got the Tiffin Street location that just recently opened up. Rose Street is under construction. These are all pieces of the puzzle that are moving in the direction to be able to assist those, to be able to break the unfortunate habits that they've gotten into, and hopefully help them become more involved citizens and become someone that is going to do some good for themselves and their city. And I think another initiative that really had a great impact to that was the jail shuttle service, opposed to having people dropped off in a foreign city that they didn't know anybody in with a small Presto card and then basically left for them to fend for themselves. Was an unfortunate situation that they were being placed in. And that's where I think we made the right decision in moving forward with that, to be able to provide that extra service that wasn't being provided to them, to be able to reunite them with their friends, family, people that are going to be around them to support them, to be able to move forward in a better direction in society. So I definitely do support this, and I like some of the other pieces that are in this, especially highlighting the mushroom shops, because that is a problem. As fast as the police close one down, it seems like within days they're either opening up at the same location or a different location, and in the end, it's an illegal operation no matter which way you look at it. And then even when you look at the volume of marijuana dispensaries that we have here in the city, to kind of put some context to it, because a lot of people probably wouldn't know, I actually kind of thought, how many do we actually have right now? Because I know it seems like coffee shops, every corner you go to now, they're there. And I'm not quite sure how they're all financially viable with as many as we have. Well, it turns out there's 29 of them. 29 dispensaries for 165,000 people. It seems a little disproportionate. And that's why I hope, pardon me? Yeah, 29 licensed. And the other piece of that is many of those license holders actually have approved licenses that they haven't even used yet, as typically they were being licensed 10 at a time, but only using 1 or 2 when they first began to open. So that just really opens the door for an umpteen number to potentially move forward, not only here in the city, but just across the province. And that's where I think they need to revisit the amount that is proportionate to the populations in the area. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to see a dispensary at every corner I pull up to. So I'll leave my words at that. I think this is definitely a good direction, and it's kind of aligned with all the other decisions that we've made in the last few years that has made a very positive change in the city. There's still a boatload of work to be done, but this is just one more step in hopefully getting the city back to the way it was 20 years ago when I moved here, because I know it's definitely changed in the 26 years that I've lived here.
I have Councillor Hamilton and then Councillor Morales, followed by Councillor Corser and then Councillor Rietma online, then Councillor Neguse.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Nettle. I was actually hoping you would start with your comments, because I think the context of how we got here and how this sort of motion was brought forward is a really important one, because I think there's been a lot of work that has gone into the downtown over the past few months, and even since we've taken office here. And I think that storytelling is important. So I'll leave that to you, but some of my questions and narrative were around that. But I want to say, operating a business downtown the past year has given me a new lens of the realities that downtown businesses are facing. And I think it's very easy to sit around this table sometimes and think, oh, we're doing A, B, and C, but the impact is not necessarily being felt downtown. And so I know we've had a lot of conversations about the realities that we're facing, and sometimes the changes that we're imposing aren't necessarily having the impact that we're hoping. But I think all of the things that we've done to date, and I know you're going to go through them. I mean, the Heart Hub, the street outreach, the street cleaning, the dedicated constables, the encampment removals, prisoner drop-off. I mean, we have done so many things. So for people who are watching, who are looking and saying, our downtown is awful, what is City Council doing? We're trying. And if there was an easy solution, this problem would not be encroaching so many municipalities the way it is right now. And to Councillor Kungal's point, you're right, this is very complex, right? And the solutions are very complex, and this is why it's not easy. So I believe what's in front of us today is what is needed. I think elevating the conversation provincially and federally is needed, and I'm glad that we're taking this leap, and I know it's going to be met with some resistance and some challenges, and do I feel comfortable with everything in front of me? I'm not so sure, but I'm at the point where I don't know what else to do, and I think this is what needs to be done to see the impact that we desire in our downtown. Our downtown is beautiful, and we have amazing businesses. We have the best waterfront view anywhere you can imagine, and yet all we're hearing is this negativity and fear and violence and break-ins and open drug use and disturbances, and it takes away from all the beauty and the potential that we have. So I am willing to try anything at this point. I am open to any solutions that people have. I think it's very easy to criticize, but until you're sort of sitting in these seats or operating a business or downtown every day, criticism only goes so far. I think we're beyond that, and I think we're solution focused at this point. And I think what is in front of us is very clear, an outline of potential solutions. Are we going to get everything right? Probably not, but we're not going to know unless we try. A couple of questions I have is just that, have we engaged with the Ontario Big City Mayors Caucus or other municipalities to advocate and align efforts? Because I think, again, if we're talking about provincial advocacy, federal advocacy, little City of Barrie, we can only do so much, and I think there's power in numbers. So that's one question.
I prefer to be the city, that little city that could,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, the answer to that's yes. A lot of this, I won't say all of it, a lot of this has actually already been adopted, not the exact same verbiage, but the same principles and intents in terms of an entire campaign the Big City Mayors has been placing on stopping the crisis, ending the crisis. There are many, we'll have to go check, I'll get back to you on this, but there's, I believe we're in the thousands, if not tens of thousands of signatures on that campaign to ask the provincial government for funding to focus on rehabilitative services. I think that there's the pieces that we've already done at the Big City Mayors. As you know, I'm the deputy chair of Big City Mayors. I'm the incoming chair of Big City Mayors. In June, which will be, I think it's our final meeting before the election. There is there another one before that?
Sorry, Mayor Nuttall, August, I believe.
August, okay. So the June meeting, we will be looking at all of the, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this later, all of the things that are done in other provinces to meet the day on this emergency, right? And you know, it's interesting, Big City Mayors adopted a position that the province of Ontario should declare an emergency. There's only one city that's declared an emergency, so really it was following what we've already done, right? So the answer to that is yes. That advocacy is focused at the provincial level. There's a separate organization that which we don't qualify for because we're not large enough, which I can't even remember the name of it, but let's call it Big City Mayors of Canada, that focuses on the federal side alongside FCM. So I think I answered the question.
Yes, you did, and thank you. And so there's no need or desire to amend this motion to give direction to coordinate with the other Big City Mayors. That's outside of this.
I would actually, like, I already am taking this there, although they, to be honest, like, they've had input into this.
Great. Wonderful. Perfect. And then a second question, if I may. Just, and I know I've talked to you about this a little bit, but just has the Barrie Police Services Board been advised on, or we've been advised on how zero tolerance aligns with current policing and the, if this is a practical approach for Barrie Police, and are they comfortable with enforcing a zero tolerance, or do we understand what that means from our perspective and their perspective? Can you just share a little bit about the conversations to date with Barrie Police Force?
Yeah, and I think I got to be a little careful here because I think that it's, you know, as anyone would expect, there'd be confidential conversations happening between the Police Services Board and the executive of the police services. I think that there's a widespread support on the Police Services Board for zero tolerance. I think that there's support in the service for that as well. I think that there is a very complex, like, I'm trying to think how to say this without going into politispeak, okay? Like, just if you can just give me a second. The structure of judicial governance, whether it's the judges, the prosecution office, the public prosecution office of Canada, have immense weight in how the police are on the ground doing their job. If a police officer is told, do not do this, do not enforce this law because by a prosecution, because the public prosecution office has said not to, because the judges have decided it isn't a fit, it becomes more and more difficult for the police to enforce every law as the law is written.
Right.
But I think what we're asking here is zero tolerance from the police on the street. And by the way, the same from the prosecution office, and by the way, the same from the judiciary. And we all believe in the separation of church and state, and don't let politicians get involved with justice. But at some point, we've also got to say as citizens, like, there's an expectation from our judiciary as to what should happen when somebody breaks the law. And we're not asking in this motion to throw away the key. We're actually asking for diversion programs to treat the core problem, which is either the mental health / the addiction issue. And let's focus on that. But it needs to be something similar to what Portugal did, where they put these mandatory sentences into rehabilitation in place. And if somebody doesn't want the rehabilitation and they want the jail instead, that's on them, not on us.
Okay, thank you. And then just a last comment I'll say is I hope in the interim, before there's any provincial change or diversion programs, that there's a level of coordination between Barrie Police and County of Simcoe Outreach, or if now we're getting the funding and doing that level of outreach. I think right now there's a disconnect, and this is just my experience downtown, but between those two forces. And I think there can be a lot more coordination, because at the end of the day, I mean, this is really about mental health and addiction challenges. And I don't necessarily think more policing is going to help that in the long run. I really do think we need the appropriate services. So just to plug at some point, and I don't think it needs to go into the motion, but I think how we implement this is going to be really, really important. And it needs to be done in partnership with the right entities, including Barrie Police, but also being mindful of the outreach and mental health and addiction supports that are needed.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Appreciate it. Councillor Morales.
Councillor Hamilton going first got me writing notes, which is never a good thing. Mayor Nuttall, it's gut-wrenching to see our city decay, and I'll use the word decay very purposely, in some of the visible social issues the way it has. But what's more mind-numbing is the fact that we sometimes, and this is the collective we, not council, sometimes we seem to spend more time walking on eggshells about the possibility of maybe offending some people or some feelings instead of taking the necessary actions that we have to take. Do you remember the pushback that we got in June 2023? There was a lot of work that went into the panhandling ban proposal with some other services. And we spent the entire month of June putting up fires, having this chamber, which is the public's right, obviously, too, on walking the technicality of that back. I don't think there was people that disagreed about the issue of having just panhandlers on highway ramps, by the way, but anywhere. There's some on Lakeshore, some on Bayfield, and we ended up having to walk it back. There was big claps, there was a celebration, some victory. You know what it is now? The panhandlers in Barrie are known in the GTA to be organized. They get dropped off, they get picked up. So the average person does the panhandling. Not every single person is part of a greater system. Barrie Fire does a great job at the boot drive, but you guys have yourself beat when it comes to this. Why am I bringing this up? We had put in the work, and I think that, again, it's frustrating and mind-numbing for me that we sometimes spend more time walking on the eggshells instead of taking the necessary actions we have to take. As Councillor Hamilton said, we're not going to get everything right, but we have to keep going on something. Some of the best comments I've gotten from either Ward 9 residents or people outside living in Barrie was compliments about the boldness, and I'll say it politely, that we had, that you had when we declared that state of emergency in the fall. People from the GTHA reaching out to me saying, wow, that took some guts. And again, I'm saying that politely. We need to implement policy. We need support systems. We need them resourced. But personally speaking, we need consequences back. I'm not that old to the point where I remember consequences were part of the fabric of society. That's the reason my parents immigrated to this country when I was 7 years old. That's the reason they came specifically to Barrie when I was 9. No disrespect to the GTA, but they said, we like that small town, big city, you know what I mean, small city, big town mentality of accountability that Barrie has to offer. And to point to Councillor Harvey's point, it seems like we're doing more work on this council to address the issues, but there's just more bad, that it's somehow getting worse, yet we're doing better. And we need to get out of that. This motion and these initiatives that we've taken are bold, are risky, are uncomfortable, but they're necessary. So I'm going to proudly vote. We need to stop tiptoeing on the eggshells. And I haven't heard the words involuntary treatment in a while. I hope they keep buzzing at AMO, and I hope that they keep moving forward. And I hope that the legislative offices at the provincial levels and federal figure it out, because residents are, not just in Barrie, but we are frustrated, and we need to return to kind of the normalcy that, again, not just my personal family experience, but a lot of people that have invested decades, not just money, but their families have invested in this city and in other cities, because we need to kind of see that decency again.
Thank you, Councillor Morales. I have Councillor Rietman, then, was it Corser, then Rietman? Councillor Corser, then Councillor Rietman.
Thank you. I was a little surprised when I saw this motion come through. There's several things I agree on, like mushroom shops, etc., that we don't need to be having in our community, and illegal drugstores of any kind that should not be in our community. But I do have, besides just the human rights side of things and all those things, let's just take that off the table for a moment. But before council takes a formal position supporting mandatory rehabilitation, I think we need to understand whether this is evidence-based and whether the treatment system actually has the capacity to support it. There's not a single study that I could find online that said that mandatory drug rehabilitation was successful in any way. Very, actually, it's a lot of the studies show the harm in it. And plus, with the zero tolerance with our police, we already know that court systems are overwhelmed and our prisons are overcrowded. And people that have done heinous crimes sit in wait for months and months and months on end until they can come forward. Sometimes they get off because they are kept without seeing a court date for a long period of time. So if we go ahead and start taking zero tolerance towards somebody smoking a pipe, then we are going to have a whole lot of more impact on our judicial system and our prisons eventually. If we put the kind of funding that we're talking about into pre-care and social services in the beginning, I don't think we'd be having this conversation now. And it just seems to me that it's putting like the horses are already out of the barn, and now we have to start looking at how to do it in a social and respectful way. There's no evidence that backs this, and I can't support something that does not, that the evidence is the exact opposite of it being useful or that it's successful in any way. So it doesn't make sense to support this, and I won't be.
Thank you, Councillor Corser. I now have Councillor Rietman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that if there was an easy answer to this problem, we'd have found it long ago. And I agree that the situation is complex and the answers are going to be complex. I think also when you look at what we've done here in the City of Barrie since the emergency declaration, I think we've come some distance. Things have improved. And the difficulty is that we cannot do it ourselves. And that's why I'm going to support this resolution, not because I agree with everything in it, but because I think it's important to get the conversation going, particularly at the provincial and the federal level. I certainly agree that we will never arrest our way out of this situation. We need much better tools than what we have now. I think we need to address the upstream problems. What are the causes of drug addiction and mental health issues that we're seeing today? Because I agree, I think we need to try to resolve those so that we prevent the situation that we're in today. But we are where we are, and we certainly can't do it ourselves. And I think that writing to the provincial and the federal governments, sometimes you wonder whether it's worth the postage, but I think it'll start to get the situation going, the discussion going. I certainly question as well mandated rehabilitation. I'm not sure that I think the jury is still out whether that works or doesn't work, whether it's the right thing to do. But let's have a conversation about it. I certainly support rehabilitation in prisons. We call our prison system a corrections facility, and yet there's not much correction going on, and I think those kind of things, the rehabilitation piece is really important. Just a couple of other comments. I won't address every one of them, but I'm a little surprised that the zoning bylaw does not clearly state that illegal activities are not permitted. And I certainly would encourage any changes that we can make to do that. And upping the fees, absolutely. We just don't want our fees to be just a cost of doing business. I think as well, I'm concerned about methadone clinics, and I'm glad that we addressed that. I think that there is a good case to be made to separate them from pharmacies. I think that methadone clinics are very useful, have proven to be useful, and I think they should be run by a healthcare facility rather than have them in the private sector. I would like to see them as part of our Heart Hub or part of RVH or some other health facility. Those are my comments, Mr. Mayor. I have some reluctance on some of the wording of it, but I think we're going in the right direction, and so I will be supporting. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. And I have Councillor Negussi.
Thank you, Mayor Nadal. I support this motion because it sends a clear message that Barrie is taking action to keep our community safe while addressing addiction with accountability and care. This is, I think, the balanced approach that combines strong enforcement with, real pathway to rehabilitation. And the other thing is it also calls on the federal and provincial partner to do their part, because we as municipalities cannot tackle this challenge alone. And this is about protecting our neighborhoods, protecting those in need, and delivering the leadership our community expects. So I support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Negussi. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. And thank you for this. I know the amount of work that's went into this, and it is a complex issue, and it's only getting worse. I think of when I first got to council and the direction we were taking, and we filled this gallery with, discussion on a safe consumption site. And a lot of the talk around the safe consumption site was, we don't have the treatment, we don't have, a lot of the services, the wraparounds, and the intentions were to keep people alive, to get them treatment. And, I find that a lot of people, it's an either or, but it's not. So like with the safe consumption sites, yes, it was, I believe it prolongs people's lives. It doesn't save them because there's no treatment, and the use of an illicit drug at the levels eventually, We look at our numbers of overdoses. So if it leads to incarceration because of lawless behavior, like we're not arresting them for consuming just any product. We're arresting them for consuming an illegal product. They're performing illegal acts. It's not based on anything other than breaking the criminal code. So if they are arrested and they're in jail, and that is one of the best parts of the motion, you know, incarceration is to lead to incarcerate, rehabilitate, and then release back into society and hopefully function. So if keeping people alive is, you know, something the safe consumption did, well, incarceration will do the same. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's the longer we worry about, you know, people and the continuation of using drugs. You take women, you know, like by condoning the use of drugs, women are trafficked because of their addiction. So I'm not into that, and I'm not supporting that we continue this behavior. And you look at facts, last year, or from January to September, there was almost 4,200 deaths in Canada. So it was actually 4,162. 1,800 were in BC. You look at the services and the behaviors and the ideology in BC, they have everything. Numerous safe consumption sites, vending machines for harm reduction, you know, safe supply. But it's the mecca of our overdoses. So what's actually gotten to this point is the ideology, the it's okay, the normalization, the, you know, you walk around and, you know, we hear things like businesses opening. First, they got to clean human feces. Then they got to move people along. They got to, like, there's no accountability. And I know it's harsh and it's like, we're always terrified to do something because we might offend somebody. And we're worried about charters of rights, and you know that is extremely important. But we forgot the charter of rights of people who law-abiding citizens. Like we're so worried about the lawlessness. Like I think of the meeting we had, you know, with staff and police and everything, and we're always looking at doing what's right and what's legal and all that, and we're up against people that don't think like that, and it makes it very difficult for us. So I am 100% supporting this motion. Yes, there's parts, but it's all about the support of everybody else. As Councillor Hamilton mentioned, we can't do this alone, you know? Like, the police need to buy in, the county needs to buy in, the BIA needs to buy in, you know, the residents. It's a whole, you know, we're in this together kind of attitude. And look, and I understand the councils that don't support this because of, you know, an ideology, you know, what they believe is right and wrong. And I understand that. And, you know, I don't look negative upon anybody because of their feelings and their opinions, but I just look at our ideologies and this is why we're here. Like we've went down such a road that normalized this behavior and we encouraged it in Barrie. We, you know, and I hate to admit that, but we did everything to make Barrie the best place to be homeless. And you know, and I'm not saying homeless is a great thing, but we made it very easy here. And we've done a lot. We've supported networks, you know, we've supported organizations and affordable housing, supportive housing, transition housing. We've done it all. And I just don't think the results are there. And now I think it's time to be a lot harsher and in a direction. And I know that doesn't sit well with people, but I talk to more people that, you know, they talk ill of our downtown, and it's unfair because our downtown's beautiful and it's a perception. But there are some issues there, but they're nowhere close to what people are saying. And I believe it's time that we show people that our downtown is somewhere that is alive and thriving, and you have nothing to worry about going down there. And I think this motion helps. So thank you for that.
So just ask please don't clap in the chambers, folks. And it doesn't matter if you're supporting or not supporting things that, you know, I believe in or whatever. Just please don't, because it's part of the rules of the chambers. I have prepared some remarks for tonight, and then I've got some other remarks based on some of the conversation around the table. I'm going to be completely honest with the council. This is going to be a long one. I've sent this around to members, and I think it deserves the time. There's not very many venues we get to just really wring out the issues, see what comes out, and then have an effect. And there's also not many issues that have the complexity, as people have been talking about, of this one. And it's multi-level. So I'll read my remarks, and then I want to talk about what mandatory intervention does and doesn't do, and what's worked and hasn't worked. So I'm going to ask members of the public and council to think for a second about these words. When we took office, prisoners from around Ontario were released to downtown Barrie. Didn't matter where you're from. If you served time in Penetang, you were dropped off at our bus station. Homelessness was rampant. Encampments were sanctioned. Entire hotels were rented out for increasing homeless population. There was no plan for affordable housing. It was a catchphrase, not an option. There was no plan for rehabilitation. The YMCA was without a home. Even their project included a home for 12 youth experiencing homelessness. Housing costs, as we know, were skyrocketing. Defund the police wasn't yelled through megaphones by protesters. It was promoted around this council table. The drug injection site was approved by the city and imminent in Barrie's downtown. Whatever strategy there was, it was focused on the day it was being discussed rather than a long-term strategy to create positive change. If you wonder how we got here over the last 6 years or 16 years, it's pretty simple. We've had leaders in the Western world and our governments that have advocated for leniency on drugs. They've fought any scrutiny on drug users or stigmatization. And the deputy mayor will remind me there is stigmatization of one drug, and that's tobacco. And the number of people using tobacco has fallen. These leaders encouraged legalized drug sites and rejected calls for rehabilitation. I have my entire career called for rehab, enforcing the law, providing long-term help for those in addictions, and published a paper on it in 2018. I wrote 17, but it's in front of me now, this paper, and it says 18, so I was wrong. When you fast forward 3.5 years into this term, this is what's changed. The prisoner drop-off is being stopped thanks to Barrie City Council. Homelessness is still a major issue. Encampments are gone except for along provincial lands, which are waiting for the MTO to remove them. The hotels, which resulted in massive crime increases in each of these areas, are no longer rented. Over the 4 years, we have seen the beginning of construction of 779 affordable housing units, with roughly half thanks to this council's decision on development charges. The county, another 155. We have requests coming in for another 380 affordable housing units that we haven't even contemplated as a city council yet. Our plan's working. Instead of defunding the police, we funded the police. And we do so confidently with the expectation of strong enforcement. A drug injection site was stopped. Instead, we have a heart hub. We have a rehabilitation center where people can start to get better and realize the potential in their lives instead of the hell of addiction. It is run from a medical lens by the Royal Victoria Health Centre and their partners. It is working with incredible results, responsible for 50% of the people who have gone through the 29 heart hubs. Our one heart hub is responsible for 50% of the people who have graduated into stability in their lives and into supportive housing. It's incredibly successful locally. In this same time period, the County of Simcoe, with support from the province and the Government of Canada, has made huge investments. Additional rooms and beds over Blake Street, expansion of the shelter units to Tiffin Street, oversight and standing up of the entire Heart Hub. To be fair to the County of Simcoe, there is a massive work being done, especially with regards to our direct requests. There's work being done to deliver a new centre with partnership between the aforementioned Heart Hub team and including private fundraising. This is a work in progress, but one, when fully negotiated and realized, will provide necessary support to individuals choosing help. But we have to identify that there are still issues. While the encampments continue to be removed, those afflicted with addiction are impacting those around them in very, very serious ways. Some of those ways are not illegal, but some are. Either way, there is definitely an impact. And I want to outline the concerns I hear, and maybe this is not all of them, but it's many of them for sure. There isn't consistent enforcement of our drug laws in Barrie. No one is trying to move people on the street into rehabilitation or get them help. If people can open up illegal drug shops, of course there's going to be worse behavior on the streets in front of them. How does an illegal drug shop even exist? To Councillor Rietma's point. Every morning there's garbage left by somebody sleeping in my doorway or behind my store. How can someone be doing a fold in the middle of the street due to drugs and not be taken to care immediately? I've watched drug deals happen repeatedly. I've been harassed or threatened. These are not issues unique to Barrie. In fact, this will shock some people in the audience here. But I've mayors from around the province come to see what it is that's happening here in the city of Barrie, as I have done in other communities. The sad part is that in many ways, we're actually doing far better than the others. When I look at the list of complaints coming in, there are few that the city have power to change. The ones that we do have the power through working with legal and zoning experts, I believe we have a path on removing illegal dispensaries. And this motion begins to process that tonight. Enforcement is not a thing that Barrie City Council can determine. It is an arm's length decision of the executive team at the Barrie Police Service. I can tell you that I've had many conversations along with our police board, the executive team, on how to proceed forward with zero tolerance. This motion endorses that zero tolerance position on the streets of our city for drug use and illegal activities, including drug dealing. It kind of feels like it shouldn't need to be said, but in this day and age, it does. We need specialized outreach services to move individuals into care in Barrie. We do not have this, and quite frankly, we do not have the outreach services that are consistently working outside of their buildings. I'm told regular outreach does not do that type of outreach anymore, and so we need specialized outreach. I've been working with the County of Simcoe to secure new specialized outreach services that hopefully move people into care so we don't have to wait for policing to crack down on illegality. I think this is the right approach to take a medical issue or to make it a medical issue prior to being a crime being committed. With regards to illegal drug dealing storefronts downtown, any rent they pay is paid by money received through drug dealing activities. If someone is illegally selling weed or mushrooms, how much of a stretch is it that there are other illicit activities, other drugs? If there are no connections to organized crime, and I have been astonished with some of the responses to cracking down on illegal mushroom dispensaries and marijuana dispensaries, and I want people to hear this. If there are no connections between those dispensaries and organized crime, why are there fire bombings and vehicles being driven through the storefronts? It's not happening at other stores. Why? Because they don't have connections to organized crimes and they're not dealing drugs. But we are going to shut you down. Every illegal dispensary. I believe that those who are receiving rent checks are buying buildings, they're paying bills, they're owning cars, they're enjoying a lifestyle off of criminal market money. You're living off proceeds of crime. It's not a gray area, it's just black and white. You take money from drug dealers and you use it to add to your own wealth. And you do so knowingly. The ones that I believe that I'm speaking to right now, and I say I believe because there's not a website you can go to where people have registered as illegal drug dealers, are number 1 Dunlop Street East, owned by 2616209 Ontario Inc., has Blaze District, Shroomies Magic Mushroom Dispensary, and Fungi's Magic Mushroom Dispensary. Bob, and others, Steve, in the media, I can't tell you who 261-6209 Ontario Inc. is, but once upon a time, the media will be able to find out. 284 Dunlop Street East, owned by 1369349 Ontario Inc. This is the Mohawk Smoke. 399 Dunlop Street East, owned by Walter Daniel Pazuk, and this has Cush City operating here. Should be noticed at one point this Cush City actually had a license from the province and appears that it does no longer. Number 4, the owner of the company is 10014427114 Ontario Inc. Purchased in 2025. It's located at 129 Dunlop Street East, and Fungi's is in this building. These are examples of buildings that the City of Barrie needs to focus on with changes to the zoning bylaw, and they cannot be grandfathered. They need to be shut down, and our letters identifying this will go out as fast as we can pass the changes to the zoning bylaw. Now, over a year ago, the Barrie Police Service arrested and confiscated the effects of mushroom dispensaries downtown. Arrests were made, charges were laid, but penalties were not paid. The police did what they do. They enforced the law, Canadian drug laws. The prosecution approved the charges. The judgments were no penalties. This is not just a case for mushroom stores. The enforcement of drug laws on our streets are discouraged in many aspects by the Public Prosecution Office in Canada. The result is the Crown prosecutors are less likely to pursue charges, and judges are even less likely to give any penalty, even to illegal drug dealers like those outlined above. And remember, these are the same people who have their establishments hit with firebombs and cars going through front walls and windows. This motion appeals to and supports the judges of this land enforcing the laws of this land. It appeals to and supports the prosecution office, prosecuting those who are found using and selling drugs. And it appeals to support the police department enforcing all of our drug laws in our streets. But it does so with a careful and a caring approach. We're also calling for full-scale rehab options in jails to help reform and heal those serving time. They're doing this in Alberta. If there's an option for somebody to get their addiction under control and to find a new path and a new way, we want them to find that option. We're calling for diversion programs when someone is arrested and charged to provide a medical approach to getting better rather than to throw away the key approach for addictions. And I don't know when society started believing that you couldn't have these two things at the same time. But there can be a zero-tolerance approach on our streets that helps individuals right their lives rather than throw the key away and destroy it. We can have safe, secure streets and be caring for people who are living in addictions. In fact, I don't find it caring whatsoever to see someone taking fentanyl, standing, then bending over in the middle of our street, and no one doing anything about it. I have a description for that. I actually find it careless, I find it cruel, and I find it lazy. Cue the specialized outreach. Cue the enforcement. But there is a thing that I believe is needed more than anything. BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba are either moving forward with or have amended their laws and policies under mental health to instill varying times of compassionate intervention, i.e. mandatory rehabilitation. If the rehab centers are not built, both inside and outside of our penal system, and the necessary changes to the Mental Health Act are made, we will never help those who need help on the streets, and we will never feel the safety and security that every one of us wants. The motion formally requests the province to move forward with the necessary policy changes and the necessary funding to fulfill those policy changes to the Mental Health Act. Another change we need to see is with regards to pharmacies or methadone clinics operating side by side of each other. I want everyone to think about McDonald's in downtown, the same McDonald's I take my kids to. If I'm standing at McDonald's and I decide to go east, I have to walk past a methadone clinic so I'm not going to do that with my kids. So then I'm going to go west. You know what happens when I go west? I cross Toronto Street. You know what's there? A methadone clinic. So I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go across the street to be able to get away from it. And guess what I run into? A methadone clinic. There has to be a separation distance between these services. I am not a doctor. I do not know if methadone works or doesn't work. I do not want to get into the question of whether it's the right approach or wrong approach. I have people come to me and tell me it is the right approach for them and they've been successful using it. And I have people come to me and say it was the wrong approach for them. What I do know is you can't put all of these services in one place and expect to have anything but the patients who need those services to be there. It's just common sense. But right now, we are unable to enforce a law that provides for minimum distance separations. We're not allowed to restrict any of those uses, and it requires a provincial change. Without police, prosecution, judges, federal and provincial governments and county governments taking this situation seriously as we are, we will continue to have citizens living in addictions on our streets. That's the fact. That's the truth. We have taken huge strides and actions to date, but there's even more to come, and we need everybody to be working together. Now, there's a slightly touchdown. If you're here because of enforcement, okay, and you believe there needs to be more enforcement, under this term of council, we've gone from 218 police officers to 250 police officers. At the same time, we've added 12 new special constables. Just round numbers, let's call it 44, 43. If you divide that into the 218, you'll get about a 20% increase in the number of police officers on our streets. At the same time, our police chief said, I don't want 2 deputies, I want more frontline officers. Right? Putting the focus on how we can have a better impact in the community rather than more white-collared folks sitting in the offices. We got more people out in the street trying to help. I think the culture is there for what we're all trying to achieve. But there's a lot of policy changes that need to come in order for the success to be what the expectation is of our city. And we're saying this, and Belleville's saying this, and Kingston's saying this, and Ottawa's saying this, and Windsor's saying this, and Sudbury, and London, and Guelph, and Kitchener, and Brantford, and Thunder Bay. This is not a Barrie issue, but we can be part of the solution, and that's what we're trying to do here. Maybe 3/4 of things don't work, but we find 2 that do. We're 1 step closer then, 2 steps closer. I want to go back to, and I'm going to then call the vote after this, but I want to go back to the conversation on rehabilitation, on compassionate intervention. There actually is a study, and about 8 years ago, I took a stand and said I don't want an injection site to be put into downtown Barrie. And it doesn't matter what side of that individuals were at. There's a place that's actually had success beating opioid-related deaths and beating opioid-related addiction. And that place is Portugal. In 1997, Portugal was seen to be the capital of drugs in Europe, one of the capitals in the world. And by 2001, they had turned what was basically close to 20% of people under the age of 30 down to 8%, saying that they had experience with drugs. Now, like, I'm not going to question my colleagues because that wouldn't be fair to them. There's 11 of us, but I have experience with drugs. Like I've used drugs in my teenage years. Okay, and so I'm guessing we're going to get past 8% because I think we might have just done that. So when we go into what Portugal managed to achieve, getting down to 8%, you've got to say, well, how did they do that? Like, how did they get it down? They opened rehabilitation centers. They focused on prevention. They actually brought the Ministry of Education, all of the police forces, non-governmental organizations, and the IDT, which is their Institute for Drugs and Addiction, and they brought them all together working on one plan. They put prevention units in place across the country made up of social workers and other folks that went into pubs, discos, cultural events, festivals, concerts, where people were likely to use drugs. They created ad campaigns to talk about how bad drugs are and to avoid them. They created preventative measures inside of schools with education programs called safe school programs, where police patrols were done around high-risk school areas. They created a dissuasion commission. Each of the 18 provinces had a dissuasion commission, and 3 people were nominated by the Ministries of Health and Justice, 2 from the Health Ministry and 1 generally a medical professional, a social worker, and the 3rd being a legal expert. And if you got caught with drugs, you had to see the dissuasion commission. It wasn't a choice. If you didn't show up, they created sanctions. Sanctions like you had to basically, there was fines, or you had to do volunteer programs, or you had to go and talk to other people about it and explain to them the bad things about drugs. And they would usually fall short of imprisonment. They would then move to criminal charges the next time. So while there was a removal away from it, they eventually got to criminal charges. They had street teams, kind of like specialized outreach workers that we're asking for. They had street teams that went out. And there's another 15 things that they did, but they're all in line with what we're asking for tonight. One thing that they point to over and over and over again is mandatory rehabilitation for those who can't make the decision for themselves, who are in a position where they've broken the law. Like, I'm not gonna, it's silly for me to point to my own study and say, look, there's a study that says that mandatory rehabilitation works. I did this in concert with the Parliamentary Library of Canada and the executive assistant to the Attorney General of Ontario. And we quoted a bunch of reports that said mandatory rehabilitation worked for Portugal, because that's what worked for Portugal. Doesn't mean it's going to work here, but it worked for Portugal. So I'm going to end at that and call the vote. It's 8:56. We've gone a lot longer. I've gone a lot longer than I had imagined I would. And so, Madam Clerk, I would like to call for a recorded vote, if that's okay, and leave it over to you to do that.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I'm going to start with Councillor Rietma, who is on the screen.
Yes.
Councillor Nixon.
Yes.
Councillor Kungle.
No.
Councillor Corser.
No.
Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Councillor Negussi.
Yes.
Councillor Harvey.
Yes.
Councillor Harris. Oh, sorry. Just reading from the paper, not paying attention. Sorry, my apologies. Councillor Morales.
Yes.
Councillor Hamilton.
Yes.
And Mayor Nuttall.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Please, please, please. I'm the one who gets in trouble at the end of the day when the clerk says to me, "You're not allowed to let that happen, Alex." But we need to have decorum in here. So, I didn't always follow decorum in the federal parliament. I'm not going to lie to you. I was probably one of the people that should have got in trouble. We're going to move past the presentation into inquiries. Deputy Mayor, do you have any inquiries?
I don't.
Members of council, do you have any inquiries? Inquiry from Councillor Kungle.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Nuttall. Just one that doesn't have to be answered tonight, and I thank Ms. Banfield for sharing some information. There was a recent announcement that Mayor Nuttall and I were able to be at with the Ward 3 development at 52 Lakeside. And if you saw some of the news and conversation, Mayor Nuttall was able to reference the achievement of 46 affordable units. Getting some questions about, I think the commitment referenced around those units being dedicated to Barrie residents. So whether or not, I'm sure you might be getting questions sooner than later on that, but would there be a communication or information posted about that through the Ward 3 development site tied to that application in time, or once that building is complete, how that will operate, or affordable units, knowing that people are looking for affordable housing? Where can people go now for information about that, or will that be coming later down the line around the process to apply to those units?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councillor Kungle, that project was part of the Mayor's DC and Council's DC waiver program. So as much as I'd like to say those are going to be available units really soon, all of these projects had to be a certain height. And so the next milestone is getting the building permit before the end of May. So it's going to be quite a bit of time before any of the units, unfortunately, are able for people to live in. But ultimately, as we have in the past with the community improvement plan, when people have gotten the per door grant, we put the onus on the applicant or the property owner to demonstrate and attest to us that the units are affordable and those sorts of things. So we expect to do the same similar thing. There'll be some sort of a residency requirement that we need to kind of justify as well, but it'll be a dialogue between the property owner and the city when the time comes. But it's not going to be tomorrow, unfortunately.
No, that's great, thank you. I think it just encouraged people to kind of seek out if there was a waiting list or a process known to date. So getting good media on a great development. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor. And any other inquiries? Seeing none, announcements? I'm going to start with Councillor Corser and really mess up the flow for Councillor Kungle.
Thank you. Throwing off Councillor Kungle. Just an announcement that, again, this year on May 9th, we are going to hold our Ward 4 Spring Celebration at Sunnydale Park. And looking forward to having Firebird Cycle, the library, the City of Barrie. We are going to have Speaking of Wildlife with Wildlife Rescue, so you can meet the little critters. We're going to have a card table for kids to, art table for kids to make cards for Mother's Day, which will be the Sunday. The Saturday, 9th is the event on the Saturday, Mother's Day is Sunday. And yeah, we also might have a comedy tour of the park, which will be a lot of fun. And so come on out. Dorian Parker Center on May 9th between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Kungle. And, sorry, Councillor Corser, and now Councillor Kungle. I actually just faked myself out. Eh? Yeah, I faked me out. No one else got faked out.
I'll try to be brief, but want to highlight some promotion of a couple of events coming up. So Heritage Barrie had a great meeting on Tuesday night, and there's a lot that's going to be coming out of that committee before the end of our term. One of the pieces is bringing back our Heritage Barrie tours of the downtown. So these are free. The first one is scheduled for Saturday, May the 23rd. At 10 a.m. and at noon, so you can meet up in the Barrie Farmers Market. Thank you to Ali with the Farmers Market for helping. I know we're going to go through a lot of communications in the coming weeks, but there are 4 dates, including the Butter Tart Festival in cooperation with the BIA. So hopefully you can take the opportunity to take a bit of a 1-hour walking heritage tour from the downtown to and from the Barrie Farmers Market. Communities in Bloom has moved from Tuesday next week to Thursday at 4 p.m. And the Ward 3 and 4 Town Hall has been confirmed for the Legion with Mayor Nuttall from 6 to 8 p.m. That's on June the 11th. And then I think that's it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kungle. And I have Councillor Nixon.
Thank you. I have a couple of announcements. Speaking of town halls, on May the 7th, we will be having a joint town hall with wards 1 and 2 right here at City Hall in the Rotunda. It starts at 7 o'clock. And also I want to mention that this Saturday is the 4th annual Home Runs for the Hungry baseball team, baseball game that I and the Barrie Baycats have hosted for the last 4 years. So far we've raised, with the help of sponsors and fans and whatnot, we've raised close to $100,000, so it's turned into quite an event. And this is a little different this year. We have We're starting the show with a hip hop show. I saw Lifted here earlier, so Lifted and Friends are going to be putting on a little hip hop show at 12:30. We have the Clandestinos are going to be creating some original artwork at the event and then auctioning it off later. We have some breakdancers. Mayor Nuttall and I will not be part of that, but we will be watching. Bouncy castles for the kids, face painting, all that, plus Chick-fil-A has generously offered free chicken sandwiches to the first 500. And it's entirely free. How's that? So you come out with a chicken sandwich, lots of entertainment, and it's free, and if you don't have a good time, we'll give you your money back. So this Saturday, see you there.
I think if you and I were breakdancing, the only thing would happen was we'd have broken bones. Yeah, breaking hips, ankles.
People would pay not to see that.
Yeah, yeah, people would pay to see that. That's a good point. That's a good point. We could up the ticket price.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I was actually going to joke that I would actually pay to see that, but I guess you could use it as a part of your fundraiser. But yeah, no, actually, I don't normally do a lot of announcements, but I thought with the heavy subject we just talked about, it was probably good to add some more lighter announcements. And as Council's representative on the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, I just wanted to let everybody know that on Saturday, May the 9th, from 8 until 12 at the Tiffin Conservation Authority, they will be doing their tree sale again this year. So there's 16 different species of trees that are available. They come in bundles of 10 for $40. And I've been told apparently the lineup starts fairly early, so and there is a limited quantity, so I would suggest that people arrive bright and early and be ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Seeing none. I'd like to proclaim the month of May as MS Awareness Month, Building Safety Month, and the Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month. And the week of May 4th to 10th is Children's Mental Health Week. The City of Barrie Public Art Committee are seeking art from Ontario-based artists for the Cabinet to Canvas program, formerly known as the Artist Design Traffic Cabinet Wraps project. The deadline to submit is May the 22nd, and you can go to barrie.ca/graffiti abatement artwork. The city is seeking feedback from the community for the redevelopment of Sam Kinsella Park and Heritage Park Phase 1. For information, please go to the building, barrie.ca/downtown waterfront parks. Starting on May 4th, 2026, applications will be accepted for the city's License to Ride program, offering Barrie youth aged 12 to 17 free rides on Barrie Transit and access to free recreational opportunities at the city's community centers from July 1st to September 7th. Please visit play.barrie.ca for information. Textile Collection Week takes place between May 4th and May 8th, 2026, which is your partnership recycling rewards. Textile collection will occur the day after your waste collection day. So for further information, you can visit barrie.ca/textile collection week. Deputy Mayor, bylaws.
I forgot we had that part of the job tonight, actually. Thank you. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Congo, leave be granted to introduce the following bills. These bills be read a first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bill 37, Bill 038, 039, 042, 043, 044, 045.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Congo, that leave be granted to introduce the following bills, and these bills be read a first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bills 037 to 039 and 042 to 045. Any questions or comments from members of council? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Congo, leave be granted to introduce the following bills, and these bills be read a first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bill 040 and 041.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Congo, that leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill is be read a first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bills 040 and 041. Any questions or comments from members of council? I'm seeing none. All those in favor?
Amendment. Sorry. I just Flip the page. I have an amendment.
It's not approved.
Sorry. I forgot that we amended it at bill time. I apologize. That bill, moved by myself, second by Councillor Kungle, that bill number 40 be amended by the following. That draft official plan amendment number 6 and map 2 attached to bill 040 be deleted and replaced with the new map based on council's resolution adopted at April 29th, 2026.
The amendment reads as follows, that Bill 040 be amended by the following. The draft official plan amendment number 6 and map number 2 attached to Bill 040 be deleted and replaced with the new map based on the council resolution adopted on April 29th, 2026. This is OPA number 006, Springwater Boundary Adjustment Lands. Any questions or comments from members of council? None on the amendment. All those in favor? It carries. On the main motion.
I have another
yet
amendment.
to be amended again.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Kungle, that bill number 41 be amended by the following. The draft official plan number 7 on map 2 land use designation formal oral into official plan 2051 brackets May 2024 attached to bill 41 be deleted and replaced with the new map based on council's resolution adopted April 29th, 2026.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Kungle, the Bill 041 be amended by the following. The draft official plan amendment number 7 and map 2 land use designation formal oral into the official plan 2051 May 2024 attached to Bill 041 be deleted and replaced with a new map based on the council resolution adopted on the 29th of April 2026. OPA number 7 oral boundary adjustment lands. Any questions or comments from members of council? We'll see none. All those in favor? Carries. On the main motion is twice amended. Are there any questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Kungle. Leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill will be read a first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. The confirmation bylaw, Bill 046.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Kungle. The confirmation bylaw, leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill will be read a first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bill 046. Questions or comments? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? It carries. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Kungle and Deputy Mayor Thompson at 9:11 p.m. All those in favor?